coming at you. Good Tuesday, everybody. Welcome once again to BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, good show today. We're going to have the man on, Bryan Thrift, live from the Potomac. I have my fingers crossed, dude. Hopefully this is going to work.
Guy wins the cup and decides to go beat up everyone at the Costa. He's led as day 5 dropped on FLW.com, where Jody White in this case went out with Bryan Thrift. And of course he caught like a 3-pounder while they were filming. He's like, where were you yesterday? And Jody's like, well, you really didn't need him.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jody pointed out he's led like the last 6 days of competition that he's been in. And now he's like, oh, let's just drive over to the Potomac River and beat everyone's.
Let me ask you this. Do you think a lot of fans across America know who Bryan Thrift is?
Yeah.
You think the hardcore guys, the weekend guys, in other words, if I showed up...
Yeah, he's not a hype guy, though.
If I showed up at the BFL, let's say in 3 states this weekend, Oklahoma, Alabama, and let's see here, Missouri, would all 3 of those states know who, majority of the anglers know who Bryan Thrift is?
Yeah, 100%. But I mean, not a lot of people would see him because he'd be like slinked off in the corner, burned in a heater, wearing some cutoff jeans. That's like just his style. It's just like kind of he's not a front and center guy. He's not a, and I'm just using it as an example. I mean, there's 2 different types of professional anglers. There's like a Bryan Thrift, and there's like a Skeet Reese or a Justin Lucas, or I mean, the polished, clean. That whole, Thrift isn't like that. I mean, they ask him in that day 5 what his goal is. He's like, I just want to be able to take people's money and cash checks for as long as Larry Nixon and Jimmy Houston has done it. I mean, it hasn't changed since the beginning. Remember Dave Rush, the guy who works for us over there? Yeah. He would remember he used to fish like the Federation stuff, I guess, and Thrift was in it. And he said he had like a Stratus back then, and he said everyone would be on the lake, and here would be Thrift in like a 1989 like Stratus, the seats ripped out on it, wearing a cutoff T-shirt and his hat, and they said all day they just see this guy going zoom 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 and being like, what the hell is Bryan doing? And then he'd come in with like 24 pounds, beat everyone by 10 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just how he's been from the start.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing what this guy has done in his career. And when I was looking at some of his stats, he's closing in on Dudley. If you call 700,000 closing in.
Yeah, he's number 2 now all time. He actually passed Scott Martin.
Yeah, surpassed the $3 million mark.
Yeah, just past $3 million, which is incredible considering he's only been doing this for about 13 years.
Yeah.
He is one of the few who could actually make a living fishing. He's a freak, 40-something% top 10 finish, like 43%.
It's got to be one of the highest in the business.
It is the highest in the business.
The highest?
Yeah, it is the highest in the business.
Yeah, hey man, he's all about the fishing. Mm-hmm. Not really about, and not saying that he's not into the business side of it. I think the important factor for him is going out and taking everybody's money.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, you look at his sponsors, though. He definitely has brought a lot of recognition to Demiki.
Yeah.
Think about, I mean, can you name another pro that's big with Demiki or any of their products other than what Bryan Thrift talks about?
No, he's kind of the face behind it.
I mean, now outside of the Demiki rig, when they had those tournaments at Cherokee, I mean, it's pretty much Bryan Thrift leading that charge.
Yeah.
And, what he does with Fitzgerald rods, his big lineup of rods on that he's designed, Sportsman's Warehouse. I mean, he does good publicity, good stuff for his sponsors and doesn't ever throw it in your face. I mean, here's the thing that I find interesting. He's sponsored by Demiki. He threw a Spro crankbait, a Strike King crankbait, and a Demiki crankbait. And they're all tied on his deck, and they're all right there on day 5 when he's going through it.
Yeah.
And he's saying, this is the best one for this step, this is the best one for this step, then I threw the Demiki up shallow. There's a lot of companies that I feel like a lot of guys would not do that.
I think a lot of guys would do it they just wouldn't say it.
That's what I'm saying. A lot
Yeah.
of guys wouldn't be like, yeah, I threw the Demiki, in the 4 to 8 foot
Yeah.
deep, but I threw the Strike King in this, and I threw the Spro in this.
Yeah.
I
It's
think
become more difficult to do because of live in all 3 events now. But no, I get it.
He's sneaky good with that swim bait too. I went back and I did his 6 tour wins.
Sneaky.
No, I mean, yeah, he always seems to be able to throw in a key fish on that, or, with the exception. And I don't know when you want to get into it, but I mean, I've been racking my brain, and I think I have come up with the Bryan Thrift formula for victory. Do you have anything else we need to get off any?
No. I want to hear this.
All right, so. You talk about how everyone talks about how he fishes with an incredible amount of speed, right? Mm-hmm. You hear the guys talk about, Wesley Strader was on. He'll make 1 or 2 casts on isolated pieces of cover. And we really kind of started to learn this about him during his first tour win on Lake Norman. He has 12 wins. He has 6 tour wins and a cup win, a couple Costa wins, stuff like that. But what we really learned on Lake Norman when we started, Thrift started that incredible run in 2010, 2011, was just how efficient he is at fishing fast. And the first guy who really brought this up, remember Van Dam in his heyday, 2007 to 2011. If I start rambling, just cut me off. We'll call him up and talk to him. But I've really thought about this. I find this very interesting.
Keep going.
So during that time period, Van Dam just went to the buffet on multiple schools of fish. So he would rotate quickly and efficiently. He'd have I'm thinking Kentucky Lake, I'm thinking Grand Lake, I'm thinking Lake Gunnersville. So he would have groups of fish, isolated groups of fish, 15, 20, 30 schools, right? So he'd have more schools than everybody, then he'd fish through them faster than all the other anglers. And we were on the water, we watched this till he found a school that fired. And then he was not stuck in his ways, meaning he would rotate in new schools throughout as the tournament went on. So he was fishing at this blistering pace, mainly with crankbaits back then.
Absolutely.
Deep diving, the 5XD, the 6XD, the whole sexy shad revolution then. So what he was doing was he was finding more groups of fish that were more easily targeted and rotating through them to find the so Thrift has taken this to the entire next level, because Thrift has found isolated fish on isolated pieces of cover. So there's more isolated pieces of cover than there are schools of bass, right? In a lake. So if you can find 20 productive ledges, you can find 50 stumps, isolated pieces, a branch, a stump, a rock, something under the water. So then what Thrift has done, which we've heard Jacob Wheeler talk about, which we've heard Wesley Strader, which we've heard Miles Berghoff talk about too, is how good he is with his electronics.
Yeah.
So he's able to find these pieces. Now, I don't know whether he sees fish on all these pieces or not. I'm guessing not. But then he basically is just rotating through.
Now, hang on a second. I want to let everybody know, you haven't discussed this with him.
No, this is my theory.
Are you going to
100%.
Are you going to ask him?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
So what I've also noticed, and this was crystal clear in Lake Hamilton, was he talked about he had a home that he would go to in the afternoon and just kind of settle down. Then he threw the swim bait and the collection of crankbaits and cull out a little bit. So that's kind of his comfort zone, right? So I'm looking at this like a wheel with spokes on it, right?
Okay.
So as the tournament progresses, what Thrift is doing is he's building a wheel, and each one of these little crazy patterns that he has, whether it's skipping a frog under docks, cranking offshore, throwing a swim jig, jerk baiting, slowing down with the swim bait. He's creating spokes off of his wheel, and he's testing each and every spoke for the first 2 or 3 days, knowing that he's also has this hub in his home, whereas everyone else just has a home, and they're hoping they catch him in that home.
Yeah.
Thrift has the home, but now he's able to go and test each spoke, and then when one spoke works, he works on it. So he ends up with this kind of lopsided wheel, because some spokes you can go further than other spokes, right? You see where I'm going with this?
Okay.
And so he's able to, instead of just focus on that little hub, his home, he's able to maximize so much more water and area because of how good he is at testing all these different little patterns and maximizing them.
Okay. We've had so many guys on this show that have said you need to keep it simple. You need to simplify it. Don't expand to where you have 12,000 things going on during one tournament. This absolutely defies what the vast majority of people have said is that why he is as good as he is, because he's mastered that.
Right. And like I said, this is just my hypothesis. He could just be like, yeah, no, nah, it's not right. But here's the deal. He is doing it with a purpose, with a reason. He knows why. What was one thing that we heard some guys, Ken Duke, I believe, said it, a couple other anglers have said it, that in Van Dam's prime, he ruined more weekend guys than he helped them, because they saw him go out burning all this freaking water, and then they were like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to just burn up the water.
They didn't know how to do it.
Well, they weren't doing it with a reason. They were doing it because Van Dam was doing it, because they weren't doing it with a purpose.
They were duplicate what he was doing,
trying to duplicate,
but they didn't know how.
Right. So Thrift is doing this with a purpose. That's why it works for him. We all think of it as junk fishing, but what I think he's doing is all this piles of 20, 30 rods on the deck. He's exploring a spoke to see if there's anything to that wheel.
The hub and spoke theory by Matt Pangrak. I like it. I like it. It makes sense. I'm interested to hear what he's going to have to say about it. You didn't talk to him at all about this at the Cup.
No, I've talked to Bryan Thrift like 5 times. He's
all about the fishing.
He talks, and if you listen to the Let's Talk Fish podcast, a show that he's done with Matt Airy and stuff, it's like, you do an interview with him, and it's like, 10 seconds later he's done, and you're like, all right, we got to have like 80 questions for this guy because he's not a talker. But he gets on that show, he gets a tackle box in front of him, and he goes off on a 12-minute tangent about technique and theory and stuff like that. So he's really good.
Yeah, he is.
And he's doing something different. That's it. Think about everybody who's been the top of the game in anything. What do? They do something different.
Yeah.
There's something different about them that sets them apart.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a break, and hopefully keep your fingers crossed. I hope this works. Keep our fingers crossed. Come on in, man.
We got a package. You got a sign for it, Mark?
Someone does.
Yeah, that is my...
Here, I'll hand it to you. There you go. Sign for it, Mark.
Okay.
Oops, I hit a button. I hope that didn't mess anything up.
Oh, let me see here. He knows to come back to the studio. All right, thanks, man.
Have a great day.
You can move it, Matthew. That's my medicine, is what that is.
Nah, that's fishing stuff. You're hiding it.
No, it's my MS medicine. I'm serious. They have to refrigerate it, so they put it in this big container.
Do we need to take a break so you can go put it in the fridge?
No. It's good. It's in there. So that's a first right there.
Did that make sense? Was that a tangent?
Yeah.
Did I go off? I mean,
No. It's an interesting thesis on analyzing what Bryan Thrift does. Now,
look, I even have hub with spokes sticking off of it. I mean, we could go more into it because I went back and looked. I mean, Lake Norman 2010, Beaver 2011, Eufaula 2015, Norman 2016, Cumberland 2018. Really, the lone exception is his win on Rayburn in 2014, where he had to really slow down and was picking those cypress stumps apart.
He had no idea we were doing a show, did he?
No, even on Cumberland, he started out with a jerk bait and a spinner bait, and then he was testing out different ways to throw that swimmer, and then he found that hub of when it worked, and then boom, he dialed it in on the final 2 days.
Yeah.
Beaver pulled the cord on the last day, went out and started fishing cedars with a jerk bait after he'd been cranking up shallow, came in with over 20 pounds, testing out a spoke.
The hub and spoke.
Yep.
I like it. Hey, by the way, have you ever heard of any professional in an individual sport getting suspended for 2 events, and then the first event that he comes back, he ends up winning it?
Who did that?
A dude named Ryan Simonelli.
In what? Bowling?
Yeah.
What did he get suspended?
For bad-mouthing the PBA on a podcast.
Wait.
Yeah, we'll get into it later. Suspended 2 events.
So like he came on like the Bass Talk Live of bowling.
Yeah.
And said,
and ripped the PBA
sucks
for the lane conditions and stuff like that.
Went under the sportsmanship clause, all that stuff. They suspended him 2 events. He came back, said, screw you guys, and won.
We'll get into it here later. All right, coming back with Bryan Thrift. Everybody stay tuned.
sleek new design with easy control file. The clearest images underwater with uncompromising range. Live mapping from the touchscreen. View notifications, video, even Google Maps on screen. And for the first time ever, real-time view of fish movements with live sight sonar. HDS Live. New from Lowrance.
Gamakatsu, the G Finesse series.
In my opinion, the G Finesse series is the only lineup of hooks you need for any fishing you do.
But I know a lot of guys haven't used this hook yet. G Finesse series has the nano coat on the hooks. The nano coating makes the hooks sharper, smoother for a better hookup ratio. 20% stronger than black nickel. Wow, that is incredible. That's a lot of strength.
My Gamakatsu G Finesse series, perfect finesse fishing for you.
Check out the G Finesse series of hooks by Gamakatsu.
Guys, Gerald Swindle, Sunline Pro Staff. If you're a flipper, a slackline hook setter, you're really putting a lot of impact into your hook set, look for the shooter. It comes off the smooth, really smooth. Like when you're flipping, it is smooth. If you're gonna be drop shotting and cranking, Sniper's the deal, man. It seems like it's a little bit less likely, like on a sharp hook set, it doesn't seem like it likes it as much. But for coming off the spool on spinning rod, leaders, cranking, like if I'm gonna throw a big plug at Guntersville, I've still got strong tensile strength. It's not gonna give out on me, but yet the line's thin enough it'll get down. So to me, shooter takes a hook set, Sniper's for everything else. So if you're gonna slack line them, go shooter.
The name SPRO says it all. SPRO stands for Sports Professionals. When you look at the pro staff that SPRO has brought on board over the past 15 years, it's been pretty incredible. I mean, one got it just then. From the development of the rock crawler to the McStick, from the Fat Papa to the Little John series, when you tie a SPRO bait on, you know it's been designed by a professional to get the job done.
Blue Water by TH Marine, offering LED lighting solutions for your boat, trailer, truck, ATV, and so much more. Engineered and built to be rugged with waterproof and submersible options. Designed for easy installation, Blue Water is available in a variety of colors and styles. All backed by a limited lifetime warranty. Blue Water by TH Marine.
At Duckett Fishing, we have assembled the top pros in the country to help us design rods to give you a competitive advantage. Castability, strength, durability, action, sensitivity, weight and balance, and consistency. Combine that with the best warranty in the industry, and you have rods that are pro-driven.
Duckett Fishing, pro-driven.
AFCO has a new foul weather rain suit called the Hydronaut. A lot of the features that I really like about it first is the speed vent hood. If it's raining out, you know, how a person gets wet is when you run down the lake and the hood comes down. With the speed vent hood, it's going to stay up. It has a camera mount in the pocket on the chest. The Hydronaut has a 2-layer, 100% waterproof nylon shell. If you're interested in a rain suit that has a lot of cool features that's going to keep you dry, you need to check out the Hydronaut from AFCO.
I got my power pole down, stuck in the mud in the bottom of the lake, sitting so still in the wind and the waves. Could even be a hurricane. I got my power pole down.
All right, we are back, folks, here on a Tuesday, and right now we are unable to make contact with Bryan Thrift.
Told you it was going to happen.
Man.
Did I not tell you that was going to happen? Not a knock off Bryan Thrift, but I mean, you know how the guy practices, and it's the Potomac River, and he's probably done a million interviews already, and he's out there practicing. And when you said, hey, we got Bryan Thrift on Tuesday, I said, how? And he goes, he said he'd do it from the water. I said, nope, not a chance. Did I not?
Yeah. I tried. I talked to him. Maybe he'll call in here. And in the meantime,
I'm shocked because there's not even great
I'm going on the fly. I got somebody lined up that this may or may not work, but we're going to give it a shot to give us kind of a preview of the Redcrest.
Okay.
So if you want to jump in and kind of give your 2 cents in the beginning, I'm going to work on getting this set up. I just got the yes answer.
Well, now I'm intrigued. Is it an angler?
Yeah.
Who's in the Redcrest?
Yes.
What is today, an off day?
It's a practice day.
No, it's not.
Is it not a practice day? Or
I thought
is it
everyone
an off day?
yesterday said
Monday,
that was their last practice
I don't
day.
know.
So it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They fish pools 8. You gonna try to work on getting him on while I get this, or else I'm gonna run out of material before you get him on, and then there's gonna be awkward silences.
Come on, man.
Shotgun elimination, knockout 1 and 2, and then the championship round on August 25th, which is on pool 7. And they're doing the standard lines in at 7, lines out at 3.
Ooh, better turn that down.
Do they even know that they're going to be live when they come on?
Yeah.
This would be a heck of a save. I guarantee halfway through this interview, Thrift is going to call.
You think?
100%. Always works that way.
All right. Let's see here.
Is this not working now?
No, it's not working. I'm trying here. Let's see here. Okay, let me try again.
You just go standard phone?
Well, no. He sent me a text. He goes, hey, let's Skype. I'm like, okay.
Okay, so it's someone who's tech savvy. So it's not Biffle.
Biffle's not fishing.
Someone who's tech savvy. I'm looking through the list.
Hang on here.
Right now.
Hang on.
Is it Ike?
No.
No, it's not Ike. Is it Bobby Lane?
No.
It's not Bobby Lane.
Hang on. Let's see if we can bring him in now. Hang on.
Who would it be?
Jeff, you there, man?
I'm here.
Oh, it's Sprague.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hey, man, can you put your phone sideways?
Yes, sir.
Instead up and down, and then I can bring in the feed here. All right, let me get it queued up. Totally off the cuff here.
Yeah, it's all good.
Let's see.
You know what? We
All
were originally planning, Sprague, and I told Jeffries this wouldn't work, and I need you to vouch for me. We were going to have Bryan Thrift on the show while he's practicing on the Potomac. I told Jeffries, I said, the odds that he remembers that are like 0.
I have followed up with him. I texted him. I spoke with him. I did everything that I could do to get him on. Obviously, he's on some grass flat and could care less about coming on the show.
He's probably throwing a swim jig right now with a big, about halfway, not even flicking the butt end of it, just like letting it kind of curl down as he burns the heater.
Yeah. So I thought, hey, man, I'm going to call one of my friends. We want to talk about the Redcrest. Sent Jeff a text. He said, yeah, let's do it. So first of all, I got to make sure that it's okay for you guys and for you to talk about what's going on at the Redcrest. Is that okay?
Yes, it's okay. I'm assuming. I'm not going to be able to go into grave detail over what's going on with the fishing, just because if any other angler that's competing watches, I don't want them to, have to report any information that I give to Major League Fishing, and then they'll have to disperse that amongst the anglers, and then everybody will know what I know. So let's keep it to a
simple,
basic
simple
stuff.
All right, here, first question right out of the bat. What's the vibe?
The vibe is this place is awesome. And it's the water's falling. It's still falling. They've got it down, and it's the fishing's a little tougher than what we would like it to be.
Is this tournament, do you think, going to fish differently? I mean, it's the Mississippi River, and that historically there's a lot of fish in it. We've seen some 5-fish tournaments this year that have been tougher. Do you think that you guys are going to be able to showcase how many fish are in the river?
I can't answer that. I don't think that that's going to be the big factor here. I don't think that you're going to see a guy come out here and catch a bunch of small fish. There are a lot of quality fish in this lake, in this river system, that we all know it carries a 2 pound to 3.5 pound class of fish in there. When you get around them, that's what you're going to catch. And then occasionally, you're going to bust a 4 pounder or even larger, 5 pounder. So, and that's what makes a big stringer here is catching 1 or 2 of those fish in an event.
All right. So what has what are your festivities this week? I mean, it's your championship week. You see others. You have red carpets. You have galas. What did you guys? Did you guys have some shindigs and stuff? You get to get dressed up, bring the family in, drink some cold ones.
Yeah, so we do. They've pulled out all the stops. This is a really big inaugural event for Major League Fishing and the Bass Pro Tour. So we have a couple of events that we're going to go to. One is a sponsor dinner from General Tire. And that's with the anglers, and that's it's not the formal banquet that we will be attending, but it's a sponsored dinner that we are going to go and all celebrate just the sponsorship and the partnerships with General Tire and the thing, and then everyone just kind of a meet and greet and enjoy one of those company. And then we actually have the our formal also, which is the family and I didn't mention it, but at the General Tire ceremony there, that's going to be our boat officials included there. So that's really cool to have those guys to be a part of what we're doing, because they are such a big part of what we do at Major League Fishing. And having those guys, their job is important as anything else that goes on, because without those guys, we can't do what we do. So it's a great way to show appreciation to them as well.
The boat officials get picked playoff officials? Do you guys get to vote on who you think? Well, that's how it is at every other sport. You get into the playoffs, and it's the top ranked officials in the playoffs. Is that how the boating officials are done?
I'm not going to say it is or it isn't. I do know that that they are the longest termed. A lot of them are the longer term officials that are very familiar with the rules, and that are very, if there's one guy out there that, he's a stickler, and he's going to make sure he calls, and those are the guys that we want. Those are the guys that they want to be here, because we want to all play by the same level rules. And, so I think that that kind of stuff goes into consideration when they do
seniority.
Seniority. And then, there may be some choosing going on. I hate to say that, but I do feel like that they use the best officials that they have for these events.
And you don't have to say names, but I'm just curious. I mean, you see the NFL, you've got Ed Hockley, you've got the guys in Major League Baseball, Angel Hernandez there. Is there one official to when he's umping the game, you're oh, this is going to be a tough, you see it in your boat and you're oh, I drew Angel Hernandez today as my official. This is going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I've had such great officials this year. From my boat official that I had at Nina when I had, a really bad day whenever we didn't capitalize on the Angler of the Year. His name's James Goebel. He's a super great dude. But they're all different. They're all different personalities, and they're all, whether you get to see it on camera or not, they all have their personality. Well, So I happen to know, and you guys know him as well. He actually is the lead official, and he's the head of official here, but it's Aaron Bashir.
Yep.
And for some reason, Aaron always seems to draw my card. And he always seems to be in my boat. Now, listen here. Aaron is he's a big old teddy bear, okay? But he tries to portray this old hard-nosed, I'm going to be a hard rear end, You
can say hard ass on this show.
Okay, well, he tries to be a hard ass. I bust his chops all the time, right? So when he gets in the boat and like people don't realize that I've been busting his chops all morning, and then whenever I say something to him on camera and he looks at me like he's stoved up, like he's got to go take a big old doo-doo, that's just him. You know what I mean? So that guy is just a handful, man. That's to be honest with you. So he's one of those guys that he's not going to play with you, and but when he's not on camera, he'll play with you. So you never know. You have to change back and forth from being cut up to now he's not going to talk to me. Is that how it's going to be? Like a girlfriend who's mad at you.
I know about that one, Jeff.
I don't. All right, Jeff. Here, three scenarios. I want you to tell us and the fans which scenario kind of classifies going into this week. Okay? You against yourself, you against the fish, or you against the other 29 competitors?
Me against the fish.
Why?
Me against the fish. Because these guys, first of all, hang on, let me get you back up right here. First of all, these guys are all really phenomenal anglers. They're all accomplished, and they all are. So I have to put them out of the equation. I know they're going to do their jobs. I have to do my job, which is beat the fish and figure out what the deal is. I don't feel like I've got them figured out, to be honest with you guys, with the cooling weather pattern that we've got coming, and it's been cooling off. They were in the in the 90s here for a couple of weeks. Now we're looking, it's dropping into the 50s every morning, highs in the 80s, and then I just watched the weather. It's going to be in the upper 40s, and the highs in the upper 70s coming into the event. So it's changing, guys. It's changing, and that's where I say it comes into me versus the fish, and figuring out what if they're going to change and how much they're going to change and what they're going to do.
Do you not feel though, like knowing what everyone else has during the day, that there's more element of you versus the other anglers, to where it feels like now, instead of just trying to catch fish as much as you can, you're now trying to catch Greg Vincent, or you're trying to catch Randall Tharp? So now there is more of a you versus an angler, to where you're focused on beating a particular guy to get to where you want to, whether it be that next round or anything?
I will use the score tracker at this event to my advantage, more than I probably ever have before, just because. And I don't look at the guy in front of me. I'll be honest with you. I don't look at the guy in front of me, and I don't look at the guy behind me. I look at number one. That's where I need. That's the number I focus on, and I think that's probably what all the anglers focus on. And if they don't, then that's their own personal deal. But I look at where I need to be at the very top, and set my sights nothing short of that. And so. That will allow me to fish more conservatively or more freely. Meaning if I've got some sort of if I'm up there and I've got a lead, then I can, expand, or I can, continue to grow. Or I can, even if I don't, then I can, buckle down and fish harder where I'm at, to be honest with you.
All right. Jeff, and I don't know if you can elaborate on this, but you've had just an unbelievable season. Really, really good from a performance standpoint. And from the business side of this thing, has some doors started to crack open to actually improve and grow your portfolio of sponsors?
I keep a very core group of sponsors, held close to me, guys. Gene LaRue has been with me since the beginning, and now obviously Luz and Strike King have been with me for a couple of years. My smaller sponsors as well. Everything from P-Line to Flat Out Tungsten and Costa and things like that. The people who Yes, my sponsors are extremely happy with what's going on in the way that Bass Pro Tour and Major League Fishing have approached things and look and they understand the greater picture and the broader view of what we're trying to do and what's going to happen over the course of the next 3 to 5 years. So yes, it's been really great. That being said, there's as an angler, we're always looking for those non-endemic sponsors and those people who want to get involved with fishing. So there's been some talks, there's been some reach outs, from companies, but we're particular on who we get, we're associated with, and that's kind of what we have to do to keep yourself branded. There's a lot of guys out here that run around with 500 patches on their jerseys, and you can't understand a single thing that's on their shirt because they got so much. I don't want to be that guy. I never have. I'd like to keep it simple, and that way, when you see, the brand of Gene LaRue or Bass Cat or whoever it may be, that it's associated with my name, and that's just something that I've always loved about it. And it's like Bass Zone, BTL. I mean, you guys have been around with me since I was co-angling. I remember known you guys since before I got going good, and you guys have always been there and had to hear what I wanted, let me say what I wanted to say and ask me questions, so hey, when anybody ever, it's like the same with you guys, I'll always be associated with you, and that's just part of it.
Do you still have some of the Keystone Light stuff?
I still have a partnership with Keystone Light and Miller Coors.
Really?
I do.
I did not know that. Do you still have some of those vintage jerseys though?
I do.
Those were cool, Matthew. Do you remember the first time he broke those out? We're like, wow.
Yeah.
Those were impressive.
That's around. You know what might be cool is to try to get every beer or liquor jersey that's ever been. That'd be cool for the man cave.
Yeah.
Like have the Keystone Light jersey, have the Crowd Royal jersey,
Bush.
Have the Bush jersey. That would be so cool to have that like kind of down in your man cave, all the different. Who else was there? Was there any others?
Well, you have
Brandon Coulter Corona.
And then you
Twisted Tea.
Evan Williams.
Yeah, Evan Williams.
Now you got 40 Creek.
Yeah, I'm just talking. Yeah, guys with the main jersey as it though. That'd be cool. I mean, you might get judged a little bit, but I think it would be cool.
It's a fetish for alcohol-driven jerseys. I don't know.
We know how much goes into a championship event like this. I just got back from the Forest Wood Cup. We've been to every single classic. We filmed a documentary at the last classic, the 49th. You're talking venue, hundreds of people behind the scenes, the anglers. There's always untold stories. Just from an angler's perspective, how smooth is all this running? Or is this a deal where you guys are working through it as you go because it's the first one, just like it was the first season of the Bass Pro Tour? And does it feel like a championship, or does this feel like you guys are just kind of all in something together that you're you know what I mean? Because it's the very first one.
No, I mean, we had an angler meeting when we arrived here, and it was Don Rux set in, and he spoke, and it was emphasized on just how big of a deal that this is, and it's very smooth. From our accommodations that Major League Fishing has put up for us, to the media day that we have today for our interviews and things and so on and so forth for content for the shows, all the way up to the event itself. Now we haven't had any of the formals yet, and that's all coming. But I mean, these guys are very great at what they do. This is not something that they've never done before. As far as putting these things together, because all these people that we have working here and that are organizing this, they all created and built these other organizations and things, from my understanding, and we're helping hands in that, and so they understand what it takes and to do what they do, and I feel like they've learned along the way before they ever got here. So now it's like a well-oiled machine, guys, to be honest with you. They do very, very well. Very good job.
All right. FLW has the red carpet. The Elite Series has the Night of Champions. What are they calling MLFs?
I have to read my email.
Come on, Jeff.
Hey, it's a first year, man. Cut him some slack.
It is. I mean, I have to read my email, and they have a name for it. They do. They have a name for it. I apologize. I just woke up, had breakfast, and then I got a Mark Jeffries text message asking me to come talk to Matt Panger.
Cut him some slack.
All right.
Cut me some slack.
Hey, can you answer this? Did you practice on both pools?
No.
Okay. And then
just 7, Mark.
David? Yeah.
No, I can answer. Meaning, no, I can answer the question. I'm apologizing.
Oh, he can answer it.
Okay.
No,
So-
we all practiced on pool 8, and then we will get a ride through with no rods, no fishing for 4 hours on pool 7 on your cut day. And then, so if you make the cut, then you get a 4-hour ride through, and then you get to go fish it with no practice.
Okay.
So no one. There's no decision. It wasn't like you guys had to split it up, and some people can spend more time on 8, some people can spend more time on 7. No one will have made a cast on pool 7 when the final round takes place. You all right there, dude?
Yeah.
Drop the phone there. But no one will have made a cast on pool 7 prior to the final 10.
That's correct.
That's kind of cool.
Not the final day. That's the cut day or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, so we're going to fish for 2 days, and they're going to cut the field to the top 20, and then they'll go from there to the top 10. Yes.
Okay.
That's cool. All right. Let's see here. David in Wisconsin wants to know, do you guys have full access to pool 8?
We have full access to pool 8.
All right. And then the next question on the instant feedback, Jim in Indiana says he likes the score tracker element, but he doesn't like the fact that the names are attached with the weights. What are your thoughts on that if they just had the weights and not the names?
I can see both sides of that. I like that. I think if we went to just the weights with no names, that it would actually put more of a surprise element in there, because you don't know who's leading it. And these guys know one another well enough to know how one guy fishes versus another guy. So they use that to their advantage. And I agree with that. It's been brought up before. But it's also, it gives, for the television and for the production side of it, you get to follow your anglers, you get to follow along and see who's catching them and things like that. So I understand it from that side of it. Now, they could probably do it to where production put on TV who was leading it, but the anglers have no idea. That could probably
like the poker deal, the World Series of Poker, where you know what everyone has and who they have, but they don't. That's
right.
Interesting. I never thought about that aspect of it. So 30 anglers, we're used to seeing much larger fields up there. Is this thing going to be like where you're just out fishing by yourself all day and don't see another boat? Or do you think even though there's only 30, it's going to be like, there's Ott, there's Stephen Browning, there's Zach Burge?
I think that you're going to see some of that for sure. No matter what pool 8 looks like, it's still going to fish small, especially with the water drawn down. You're going to see some anglers around one another, just because these fish live where they live. And that's without sounding redundant. It's just such a true statement, and you can't go out and reinvent the wheel.
All right, very cool. Jeff, I just got a phone call from Bryan Thrift, so we're going to get to him.
You're
here.
off the hook. We used you for your 15 minutes. Jeffrey totally used you.
I did not.
As a stand-in interview. No, I'm just kidding.
Man.
Listen, hey, when you tell Thrift that you were on with me, and tell him that I thank him and he's welcome. Tell him I said thank you. He'll know what for. And tell him he owes me a thank you. And he'll know what for, because he just won $300,000.
All right.
Very cool.
All right, we'll do that. Hey, man, best of luck to you this week.
Tomorrow morning.
We will talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys. Y'all take care.
All right, take care.
Tomorrow morning, the inaugural Redcrest kicks off.
All right, that was cool for him coming in.
Yeah, he's like I said, he's been cool with us since he was actually, I think, like Jeff Creet's partner at the first Fish and Chips, fishing as a co-angler on the FLW tour, and then he's like, I'm gonna fish on the pro side, and he made 4 cups in a row, finished in the top 20s, and has not looked back since.
Bryan.
Yes, sir.
Hey, it's Mark and Matt, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing good out here on the Potomac River sweating.
Little humid.
Little humid.
All right. Well, I apologize. I guess you had your phone off. We were trying to get a hold of you, man.
Yeah, I had it. I forgot I had it on silent. I finally heard it buzzing.
We had a bet going that you were throwing a 1/4 ounce swim jig through the grass.
You would be wrong.
Dang.
Right at that moment, I was throwing I think I was throwing a spook.
Ooh, you and Jeffries. Mark Jeffries over here. He throws he bed fishes. He throws a Carolina rig, and he throws a spook. Those are his 3 baits. If they're not biting on that, he's off the water in an hour.
That's not true. That's not true. Bryan, man, really appreciate you taking time out. I know, obviously, right in the middle of practice at the Costa, but a crazy, crazy week for you. And I want to ask right off the top, the whole day 5 thing, do you like doing that? Did you have fun with that?
Oh, yeah, I have a good time with it.
And what went down on this one after the Cup? How would you describe, and what would you describe the experience after taking down 300,000, obviously the Cup and everything on that day 5?
Oh, it was good. Like, we didn't get out there till 12 o'clock. It was just kind of a relaxed atmosphere. Yeah, it was nice to get on the water and not be stressed about having to catch one.
You don't stress out, do you? Come on.
Oh, I do. I got to pay the bills.
All right. Now, Matt and I got into a pretty good conversation before the show, and he's actually taken the time, and I'm going to tell you, Bryan, he has taken a lot of time to analyze the way that you approach the game from an outsider's view. So we're going to get into that for a minute, but I want to ask you first before we get into that, is this game just to you all about going out and winning and just the fishing part of it, and that's where you're mainly concerned about how you've had so much success?
What do you mean? Like, I don't understand the question.
Yeah.
Like, as far as
what I'm trying to ask is the fishing part of it and total focus on fishing and nothing else that really exists.
Off the water stuff,
off the water
sponsors,
with
that
this
type of
game,
stuff.
everything else. Is this just all about going out and catching as many fish as you can and spending as much time as you can on the water?
Yeah, I mean, that's the way I approach it. I mean, as far as like having a YouTube channel and stuff like that, I mean, I don't get into that. I mean, I probably need to, but that's not me. Like, I love the fishing side of it, and I mean, I love working with my sponsors and things like that. But as far as, you know, going the extra mile, making all kind of crazy videos and editing them and stuff like that, I've never really dove into that just because it takes so much time. I feel like it would take away from my actual fishing time.
Do you still fish as much as now as you did in the early 2000s?
Oh, yeah. I still fish just as much, probably more, actually.
That's
I mean, this year I'm fishing more tournaments than I've ever fished in a year. So.
Is it hard to get up and get on the water to go practice at the Potomac after you've won a coaster, you've won the Forest Wood Cup, you've gone through a tough FLW tour season? I mean, was there any part of you that was like, man, I wish I could just go to the beach, or were you like up and ready to get after it?
No, I was ready to get out here. You know, I absolutely love it. I mean, I don't like rivers. If we were on the lake, I'd be a lot more happier if I wasn't catching anything. But on a river, I don't like it.
That's interesting, because I was just at a media event with Brent Ayler, and he said he's not a fan of rivers. Do you think that the river thing, I mean, if you don't grow up on a river, you know, seems like the guys who are good at it grew up on a river, like a Steve Kennedy stuff, you know, guys like that.
Right.
Do you think that that is the toughest type of fishery to understand, a river?
I think the reason I do poorly on rivers is because it's so easy, I make it hard, if that makes any sense. Like, river fish are always on obvious stuff, obvious current breaks, but everybody fishes the same stuff, and I don't like that, and I don't like getting in a crowd and fishing with everybody.
That makes sense.
And I think I make it harder than it is, if that makes sense.
You know, I'm going to ask you this, Bryan. At the Cup, for the first time in a long time, the weight of the champion, being you, actually decreased over the first 3 days. Why do you think that took place this year?
I think it was just the type of fishery we were on. was the biggest thing. And I made a prediction, actually, me and Kyle roomed together, and I made a prediction that whoever led day one would probably win the event, just because the lake being the size it was and boat traffic and just things, just, the pressure finally taking its toll. And I'm glad I was right, because I was leading the day one.
Yeah, 300,000 to the bank there. All right. I'm curious, would you like to see the Cup move around to where it's not always a summer event, maybe a spring event, a fall event? Would you like to see it move around, and why?
I would not. I like it being the dog days of summer. I mean, I feel like a championship should be during the toughest time of the year to catch fish. I mean, it shouldn't be easy. Like, it shouldn't be a championship where you're bed fishing or, something like that, where it's just easy going down the bank fishing. Like, I feel like it should be as much of a mental game as it is a fishing abilities game, which is what we have in August. I mean, you're talking August, you're out there fighting the sun, boat traffic. I mean, you've got a lot of other factors other than just figuring out the fish that come into play, and I like it like that.
Had you ever seen a lake set up more to your wheelhouse than Hamilton when you combine the size, the features, the familiarity with your Tuesday nighter lake, the familiarity, the similarity to Lake Norman? I mean, be honest here. When you went out there, you said this was the only Cup that you felt like you actually had a shot to win, even though you have finished in the top 7, 8 out of the past 9 Cups. But did you get out there and was there something in your head that went, oh, this could be really good? This is the last 15 years has all been setting up for this week.
Yeah, I'd never seen Lake Hamilton before till the first day of practice. And, the moment I launched the boat, that's the first thing that came to my mind. Not that I was going to win, but this lake looks just like my little home lake. And I bet it's going to fish just like it. And it turned out it did. And it was just, it played right in my favor, for what I've grown up and pretty much how I've taught myself to fish at the house for the last, 10 or 12 years. I mean, Lake Hamilton's got a lot of options, which I like a lot. You've got brush, you've got boat docks, you've got riprap, grass. I mean, it's got every option under the sun, and it's small enough that you can hit all of it in one day. You don't have to, run 30 miles to change a pattern, and I really like that a lot.
One of the other things that I thought was interesting was there were a couple guys that threw a plug, but you seem to be one of the only guys who was able to exploit that crankbait pattern. You went into it really on day 5. We saw you catch some key fish on a crankbait later in the day on what you called your home. Why do you think it was that not more guys were able to get on the cast and crank pattern with the variety of crankbaits, and you were able to really kind of catch a lot of quality on that throughout the 3 days?
I think it was something that, I never really got on it good in practice. It was just something that, it's summertime. I'm always going to have a few crankbaits on the deck just in case, but it's such a rare event on a lake like that in the summer to actually be able to catch them cranking. And it's just, that plays into what I was talking about earlier about having so many different options. I mean, I had 15 different rods on the deck, and I caught bass on all 15 of them throughout the event. So it's just something else that's in the wheelhouse to run.
Speaking of wheels, Matt, you want to get into it?
Do you want me? Could I just quickly run past? I mean, I spent 15 minutes putting together a theory as to why you kick everyone's ass. And I feel like I can put it together in a wagon wheel, Brian. You have a hub, and I went back and I just looked at your tour events. And I'm gonna exclude the Rayburn one because you had to fish slow at Rayburn. But I mean, you talk about your 2 wins on Norman, even what you did on the final day on Beaver in 2011. You didn't get super dialed in on Cumberland until the final 2 days. Your wins on Eufaula, especially. Then you throw in this Forest Wood Cup. So what it seems to me, and I'm going to do this in 30 seconds here and then let you expand on it, is that you have a hub. That's the center of the wheel. You talked about your home in this Cup. You talk about that swim bait that you had on Cumberland, and that kind of develops through the tournament. So you have a comfort zone, a home, a hub. That is the center of the wheel. Then what everyone else likes to call junk fishing, which is not junk fishing in your opinion. Those are spokes coming off of the hub. And the more comfortable you are with the hub, the more spokes you're going to have. And you start traveling out on all of those different spokes and expanding on it. You're not randomly junk fishing. You're building this wheel. And then you have your home and you're testing each one of these spokes, whether that be an isolated stump, a spinnerbait, a spook bite, a ledge, maybe a topwater, something like that. And then at the end, what looks like junk fishing is this beautiful wagon wheel that has a hub with spokes that all serve a purpose to create a functional compact wheel. Is that a fair assessment of your fishing?
That may be the best analogy I've ever heard for it.
It's awesome, Matthew. It really is.
I spent 2 hours on it. It really bothered me because everyone said, oh, he's the best junk fisherman ever. And I'm saying, look at frickin' Gerald Swindle. Gerald Swindle is the best junk fisherman ever, and he's won 1 Open. Thrift's been doing this for 13 years, and he's won 12 tournaments and $3 million. Now Swindle has 2 Anglers of the Year, so it works, right? It obviously works. You can junk fish, but you're not junk fishing. You're not randomly going, oh, let's just make a cast over here. Let's do that. You're building a wheel and using each one of those spokes to increase the integrity of your overall pattern with a hub in the middle.
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, it really does. Like that, at the Cup, everybody was asking about it, and I was calling it precision junk fishing. Like it's junk fishing, but it's very precise. Like I know exactly what I'm looking for and where I want to throw and what bait I want to throw on each individual target. So that's what I was calling it. But I like the wagon wheel analogy. That's pretty good.
All right, hey, I always ask this question to the champion of the FLW Cup. Have you made a trip to the bank yet?
I have.
And did they treat you well? I mean, do you have a good relationship with your banker, Bryan?
No, I do. I know all the people at the bank pretty good. It's just, I mean, I'm kind of a small town, so you get to know everybody. And everybody was, telling me congratulations as soon as I walked in the door before I ever even walked up to the teller. So.
Have you ever had anyone who's complained that you still fish the Tuesday nighter? We get guys on here who are like, man, I can't fish locally because guys complain. I mean, are you like buddies with all those guys, or is anyone like, hey, can we do equal payout for the top 3 since we're fishing for second and third here?
No, I mean, there's some guys that kind of get frustrated at times, but I'm pretty much buddies with all of them, That's where I started bass fishing. Like I won my very first bass tournament on that little lake on a Thursday nighter, and that's kind of where I taught myself. So I would be disappointed if they didn't let me fish, and so far they haven't. I mean, there's a grumbling occasionally, but it's not terrible.
I think you pointed out on day 5, Jody did, that you've led the last 6 tournament days that you fished, correct?
Yeah, I believe I have.
Is there a chance that we could see 9 days in a row where you lead? And that would have to be a record.
No, there's no chance of that. Not right now.
He still has a little bit of time left. Come on, Bryan.
The wagon wheel's a little lopsided right now.
Yeah. Right now we don't have a hub. I think we got maybe a half of a spoke. We got a peg leg wagon wheel.
So it's a little tough on the Potomac.
Oh, man.
All right, Bryan. Well, I apologize for being late, but I'm glad that you were able to come on and give us a little bit of insight. And you're going to keep doing the podcast, right?
You're going to keep doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Do you enjoy doing
we'll
that?
Get started back up. Me and Matt Airy and Jeff Walsh, and we'll start that back up next Tuesday. I think I'm at Potomac this week, and Matt's up at Cayuga. And when we both get home, we'll get our Cup recap show and recap his 2 events on the Elite Series that he's had in the last 2 weeks. And it should be a good show.
Heck,
all right, man.
I got one more question. Have you watched your winning moment yet? Have you gone back and just watched you win?
Yeah, I have.
What went through your head when you saw it? Because Jeffries was right. He called it. You did bear paw the entire cup with one hand.
That's right.
I was rather impressed. I didn't think that was possible, but Jeffries called that.
I don't know what I give. There was a lot of things going on.
He one-handed it.
Yeah.
Where's the cup at now?
I don't remember doing it, but looking at the pictures,
Where's
I was just wanting to get my family on stage as quick as I could and give them a hug. That was all I was worried about.
That's awesome. So where'd you put the cup at?
It's in my office in my shop right now.
Okay. You got a special place for it, or is it going to stay there?
It's gonna have a special place. It doesn't have one right now, but I went and talked to one of my buddies that builds cabinets, and he's gonna build me a nice little stand, and it's gonna have its own little special place here in a couple of weeks.
Where do you keep all your trophy? Like, do you have a trophy case? I picture you as a guy who like has a trophy corner where they're just like laying on the ground in the corner, where you're like, yeah, there's my trophy pile.
No, I got when I built my shop, I walled off a 15 by 20 office in it, and I had my buddy that makes cabinets. He'd made me a mantle that goes all the way around 3 walls, and I've got all my trophies up on top of the mantle.
Very cool. All right, Bryan, man, we're going to let you go, but hopefully you can find something through your practice, and we'll see what happens at the Potomac. But outstanding effort, outstanding job, just one of the greatest anglers in the game today, Matthew.
Hey, you might have to take that one out off of the front of that.
Yeah.
You can just maybe say the greatest angler in the game right now.
We talk about that a lot. All right, Bryan, man, best of luck to you this week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, there you have it, Bryan Thrift. And you can catch him.
Catch him a number of ways.
Many props coming to you on the hub and spoke analogy.
Yeah, it kind of went out there. I mean, if that had fallen flat, if he had just been, he would have told us too. If it had not been true, he'd have been like, yeah, no, that's not good. And
he's a tough interview.
Yeah, just matter of fact. His interview is like his fishing.
Oh,
there's no hyperbole to it. It's
not a whole lot of fluff.
Kind of matter of fact.
Yeah.
You know? Like I said, if you listen to his show, though, he'll get into, he'll have a tackle box in front of him, and he'll get into a bait or why this works or something, and he'll go with it. He doesn't like talking about himself. He doesn't like talking about how good he is. He doesn't like trying to explain how much he wins. He doesn't like talking about where he sits in the all-time grade of FLW, and I think all of those factors are why he ends up fishing more now than he did back in the early 2000s, and why right now he's probably the arguably, Jacob Wheeler might have something to say about that. Edwin might have something to say about that, but arguably the best guy that's making a cast with the rod and reel right now.
All right, he's $700,000 behind David Dudley. Will he catch him? And how many years do you think it might take him?
Next June.
Jeez. I'd say within the next, because remember,
Dudley's going to keep going.
Exactly.
Dudley's going to keep going, but
I think
is just
the gap narrows within the next 5 years.
Thrift only has 2 anglers of the year, I believe. Dudley has 4.
And I think Dudley
has a cup.
And he's made like 21 cups.
Mm-hmm. But Thrift has only been doing it for 13 years.
That's what I'm saying. So
you extrapolate his results.
Yeah.
It's a win a year is what the pace that Thrift is on. Yeah. So that's at least $60,000. You also have to remember a lot of his earnings. The guy fishes, if there's a Costa, if there's, he fishes all that stuff and he wins that. So, if Dudley's just fishing 7 events during a year, he'll cash a check in all of them, have a couple top 10s, and make 70, 80 grand.
Yeah.
Well, Thrift's going to win one, so there's at least 80 grand there, and he's also going to fish 5 or 6 additional tournaments that have $50,000+ as their first place in addition to the tour, and he pretty much guarantees himself at least $35,000 in the Forest Wood Cup because he only finishes in the top 10.
All right, I'm going to throw something out there. If Dudley and Thrift were to team up, but in their own boats, okay? Mm-hmm. They own decision, own styles, own equipment. Everything is on their own. Would go up against
Martin and Cox.
Now, hang on. Wheeler and Ott Defo. Who wins?
That's a push.
Would that not be cool to see?
That's a push.
Wonder what the fans think about that one.
And what you have to also remember is we're like 4 tournaments away from Van Dam being back in the mix. We did this to him like 3 years ago, and then he came out and won 3 out of 5. So
I know. He may win. You know, who knows?
I would
he might have won a cup.
I would do. Yeah. Wheeler and Defoe, or Wheeler and Edwin.
Wheeler and Edwin.
Wheeler and Edwin, I think. Well, no, Defoe won the classic, but Edwin has a classic and a BPT.
I don't know.
And the Angler of the Year. It'd be Edwin. Edwin and Wheeler.
I'm going to say it. Once again, and it's not going to be the last time. With the technology that's available, we are positioned as fans, the media, and the amount of exposure that these, what I would call super matches, could create from a buzz if they are built up, and you have the cooperation of all three organizations to make it happen. I think that's something that could really, really boost this game from a fan perspective.
And the individual guys.
Yeah.
As long as it involves catching a bass, Thrift's in.
All right, tomorrow. Wow, what a crazy show today.
Yeah,
I pulled it off, though.
Yeah, but Jeff came in with, the fire.
Yeah.
He had good stuff.
Many, many thanks to Mr. Sprague on
I thought
pinch
that's,
hitting there for a
we didn't
little
even get a chance to kind of talk about his interview, but I thought it was cool about the ride-through that they get on the pool for the final guys. So
yeah, cool stuff. So make sure you check out what is taking place with the Redcrest this week up north in Wisconsin.
What do we got tomorrow?
Big show tomorrow. This is your chance, folks. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening to the podcast replay on iTunes, tomorrow you want to take the opportunity to call in on the Sunline Hotline, an entire show dedicated to you, the viewer, to voice your thoughts, your opinions. Ask us anything that you want. We will try and answer tomorrow on the Sunline Hotline show. Dude, I'm still thoroughly impressed with the whole wheel and spoke thing. You know, you don't know this, but the entire business model for package distribution
Wheel and hub
of UPS was wheel and hub.
That's I said there has to be a method to the madness. There has to be a master plan there. It can't just be that constant level of success without a formula to it.
Yeah.
That's a 1 or 2 win, maybe.
No, you're right. All right, we'll get into the whole Simonelli situation where he said some really bad things about the PBA and the lane conditions and all that
we
stuff.
never got into that.
We'll get into that tomorrow.
You got to go to class.
But yeah, he got suspended 2 tournaments, lost his bowling ball sponsor, all right, and came back and won the very next event.
He's bowling with a Flintstone rock now.
I'm not really sure what he was using, but man, he's got massive
What did he
game
say?
too. I'll let you listen to it.
Is it bad or were
good?
Was it fair? Was it
Yeah.
valid?
He apologized. Yeah, he apologized.
But it was valid what he
Absolutely.
said too.
Yeah, pretty interesting.
Bass has that in there, at least as far as 2 years ago, they had that in their Angler Code of Contact that they cannot say disparaging remarks about the organization to other media outlets.
I mean, it's not a major, it is an impact, but not a major impact. Can you imagine somebody getting suspended for 2 events in the bass fishing world?
I was trying to think, has anyone ever done that?
I don't think so.
I mean, you've gotten kicked out of an event, but I've never seen anybody suspended for following events due to an off-the-water action.
I don't think so.
Not even Ike.
Cool stuff. I want to thank Bryan Thrift, thank Jeff Sprague for coming on and pinch hitting off the cuff. So tomorrow, big show, folks, Sunline Hotline. That's it. We're out of here.